Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jane Gypsy, and Gypsy is spelled with a 6 instead of a G. I like to explain that because for some reason when people see the 6, they have a hard time pronouncing Gypsy, or they just can't figure it out at all. So there you go. I am a very new beginner YouTuber, so I really appreciate you checking out this video and my channel. If you happen to like today's video and my content, I would so appreciate a like, subscribe, all that jazz. So, I know what you're thinking, right? I am so sick of Amber Heard. Oh my god. I just got over like 5 months of just nothing but Amber Heard videos and news, right? Well, I hear ya. Trust me. But this whole thing is bigger than just us hating on Amber Heard for being a piece of shit human being. This is what I believe the start of a social movement for male domestic victim violence. Male domestic victim male domestic violence victims, and just domestic violence victims in general, because for once we had a victim stand up to his abuser, who in turn became an accuser, which is very common in male DV cases. And he won, and nobody really believed he could do it. Not just from a standpoint of because people didn't believe him, but from my understanding, a law standpoint. According to the lawyers that I heard covering the case, most of them believed that Johnny Depp was basically just having the trial publicized so that he could win in the court of public opinion. But everyone was surprised that he won, and I think that really goes to show just how clear it is that Amber Heard was lying. So I haven't posted a video in a while. I was supposed to have one posted on Halloween, but I ended up having some technical difficulties with the program I've been using. For some reason, I was never able to export the video. I reached out to customer support. They basically didn't do squat. And since then, I have been working on researching a certain case that I am really eager to bring to you guys and bring as much attention and light on this case as possible. I am going to have that video for you guys very soon. It might be a two-parter because there's a lot to talk about and go over. So for now, I at least just wanted to put out something, and I had always intended to do like a Amber Heard, Johnny Depp series or playlist or whatever, so I figured I would start that now. So today, basically, I'm going to give you, being a domestic violence and sexual assault victim myself, my reaction to Amber's testimony about the first time she was physically abused by Johnny Depp. I remember when I first saw this, I was literally just like in disbelief. It was so cringy and hard to watch because it was just so obvious that she wasn't being authentic. It was like she Googled like PTSD symptoms and then just like tried to emulate what she read on Google. So yeah, and trigger warning to anybody, who's sensitive to DV and SA and all that. I'll just try to be considerate for those who have a hard time hearing about these types of things. So yes, here we go.
So let's take you through 2012 and your relationship. Could you just describe for the jury a little bit about how that relationship evolved through 2012?
It was always intense. It didn't become intense. It almost started that way. When I was with him, I felt that electricity in my body. I felt like butterflies. I couldn't couldn't see straight practically. It was just, I was head over heels in love. And he felt like that to me. He felt like he was also in love. I didn't feel like he was faking it. I felt like what we had, it felt like to me at the time, there wasn't any love like that, and then he started to kind of do this thing again where he'd disappear and he'd come back. And I remember at first when he first started drinking, I didn't really think much of it, but all of a sudden the behavior kind of started to go in line with the disappearing, and he'd come back and he'd just be different. And I'd say something and he'd accuse me of saying something else or saying it in a different way, or he would, it was mostly my clothing at the time and me working. That was the main thing. Like, I found myself trying to not talk about auditions because it would change the mood so dramatically. I tried to, he would make these comments about, whoring myself out, but do so in the context of me acting, and he would talk about other actresses who do my role in this way where they were worthless whores, that they were fame hungry, expletive, just this. The point is, it felt really dirty to be an actor. Never mind that he was one. It was dirty that I wanted to do this job that I wanted to do, and I was doing the job of an actress. It was everything every time I was walking out of the house, he would ask me, "That's really what you're wearing, kid? Oh, I see." I wore a dress to an event once, and I felt beautiful in it. Like, stupid as that sounds, I felt pretty in this dress I picked out. And
does this throughout the trial. She does these little self-doubting, self-pitying, woe is me moments.
I wore a dress to an event once, and I felt beautiful in it. Like, stupid as that sounds, I felt pretty in this dress I picked out. And
she says it for the dumbest things. Trust me, she says a lot of really dumb shit. But out of all the dumb shit she says, whenever she does these little self-pitying moments of reflection, it's about things she says that really aren't dumb at all. I mean, I get what she's trying to portray to the jury. Oh, I just wanted to feel pretty in my dress, and Johnny just made me feel so bad about it, and I just wanted to look beautiful for him, and he didn't notice me. He just put me down about it, and oh, poor me. No, bitch, shut up. First of all, that really just triggers me. I hate mind games like that and manipulation tactics. As poorly as she executes them, they still just trigger me. Besides that, I do want to say, I do think she is being truthful about some of her testimony here. I can picture Johnny being older and Amber being this young, beautiful 20-something-year-old, and just Johnny having experience in Hollywood and knowing the sexualization of young, beautiful women pursuing acting as a career. I can definitely see him being a little too protective, conservative, and overbearing. At the same time, I don't know if I believe her to the full extent of what she is accusing that he said regarding this, but I could definitely see him maybe being is that really what you're wearing? I don't know. So I can see him maybe doing some of these things and criticizing some of her more revealing outfits, but at the same time, his daughter, Lily Rose, is a model, and I don't know. I mean, obviously he can't tell his kids what to do, But I feel like why would he be more concerned about Amber than his daughter, Lily? You know what I mean? I could see him like giving her advice based on his experience so that Amber can reach her full potential as an actor and not just be used for her looks. Because Hollywood does have a well known history and reputation exploiting young, beautiful women for just their looks and not so much their talent. So it could have been just Johnny Depp trying to protect her from falling into that trap that perhaps he's seen with other actresses, many of which he's dated and worked with himself. So I'm sure he has firsthand experience with this. I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I'm not saying it's right. It definitely is emotionally abusive to call your girlfriend a whore or a slut or shame her for wearing a revealing outfit. Maybe he didn't actually go to that extent with it. Like maybe she's making that part up. Maybe he did call her a whore. I don't know. If he did, then that is abusive. Honestly, I could picture him drinking and saying a comment like that. Some of his text messages were very abusive language. They're definitely not okay to say to anyone, and especially someone you love, such as your girlfriend. Then again, you have to think how much abuse he's been taking from her. You can only take so much before you just break down. Not everybody can be perfect all the time. People make mistakes, especially if you're being mentally manipulated and constantly harassed and just criticized. We all have a breaking point where we might lash out and say and do some things that are out of character and typically not in our set of morals. And even though it's not justifiable, you have to consider, did he say these things after taking so much abuse from her? And also, if you have substance abuse and mental health in the mix too of a abusive relationship, that's a lot for anybody to maintain their full, consistent, best behaviors. I'm just pointing out that there could be some truth to what she's saying here.
I showed it him because it's a carpet, it's red carpet, so it's like, publicized, and I kind of thought it was weird. He wasn't saying anything about it. I left him to go do this red carpet, and I was like, "Did you see the event I went to?" Basically, I felt pretty, and I thought, like, "Did you see that?" I wanted him to say something about that, I guess. And he said, well, this is after he stopped talking to me for some time, didn't tell me why. When he came back in my life, he wouldn't explain why he was acting different. He just kind of acted mad at me, didn't know what I had done wrong. And when I brought up the dress and the event, because it was an event to support a charity I was really involved with at the time, and I said, did you see that thing? And he said, yeah, I think the whole world saw that kid. That's how they'll remember you. That's how the world will remember you. And I was like, oh, come on. I mean, it's like, but I felt good in it. I felt good. And he said, yeah, kid, that's what you're putting out there in the world. No one will ever forget that. And that's all they'll see you as. That's what you wanted. That's what you were going for. My dress was low cut. I get it. It's low cut. But I felt, I felt really embarrassed and horrible that I wore that. I felt like, how could I have made that choice? Of course, he's right. You start to believe it. I started to believe that made a lot of sense, of course. But it didn't stop with that. It was clothing in general. And when I walked out of the house, it wasn't just like, hey, you're not allowed to wear that. It was like, oh, really? That's what you're wearing. No wonder you get cast in those roles. No wonder you that's what you are. That's what you're making it. And it continued. And then there would be a blow up. And at first it was just to throw something, smash some things. He loves to smash up a place, an apartment. Furniture is what it started with. Glass. Threw glass at me, and I remember it was summer. And he just threw this glass across the kitchen, and it didn't hit me, but it shattered behind me, and I remember thinking that it like very easily could have hit me. And that, calling me a whore, it didn't start with using the whore word, it was just comments until it would escalate. And then I started to notice the pattern of escalation where he'd throw glass or turn over a table. Then he would hit the wall, and then he'd hit the wall really close to my head. You know, like when I'm standing there, you know, just hit the wall, screaming at me. But then he would disappear and get clean and sober, and he'd come back and tell me that he was done drinking, he was over it, he was done, cleaned himself up, he had done it before, and he'd do it again. And then he would go back to this like wonderful, like almost like just unreal, like real, you know, but unbelievably nice, sensitive, kind, warm, generous, interesting, funny man that I loved. And he would make me feel so loved, like I would feel so distant from that thing that was so scary that I would not even recognize it too. And that was how, you know, our relationship kind of started to develop in that first year.
Do you remember the first time that he physically hit you?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about it.
It was it's seemingly so stupid, so insignificant. I will never forget it. It changed my life.
I just have to say, right off the bat, she's just already not making sense. Within the first sentence, contradicted herself. She does another one of those self-pitying in reflection moments. She says, it's seemingly so stupid, so insignificant. Very next sentence, like a second later, I'll never forget it. It changed my life forever. How could something so insignificant at the same time be something you'll never forget that changed your life forever? This is why I feel like she's just talking out of her ass. She doesn't mean what she's saying. She's just putting together words that she thinks sound believable. I wonder if she ever took any improv classes and how she did. Maybe she should have just stayed with raising horses and stuff. I think she should go back to the farm and try that. Even though horses are pretty smart, I can usually pick up on personalities and ambience and vibes, so maybe that'd be a little dangerous for her. The horses might not like her too much. They might just smell her evilness and manipulative character traits from the next barn away. I don't know, I've never been to Texas. Anyways, I just wanted to point that out. Seemingly so stupid, so insignificant. That's another thing. By saying that the first time she was physically slapped across the face 3 times hard, as she says, the fact that she's referring to that as stupid and insignificant just tells me that she doesn't perceive physical violence as a big deal. It's just, I don't understand how you could say that the first time the love of your life hits you across the face 3 times hard is insignificant and stupid. Yet it changed your life forever and you'll never forget it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
I was sitting on the couch and we were talking. We were having a normal conversation, you know, just there was no fighting, no argument, nothing. And he was drinking, and I didn't realize at the time, but I think he was using cocaine because it was like there was a jar of cocaine out on the table. I realize that sounds weird, but it was like an actual vintage jar of it. but I didn't see him use it at the time, so I didn't really factor that in. I just, he's drinking and we're talking and there's music playing and he's smoking cigarettes and...
I'm gonna point out something else. Notice how she says he's drinking? We're sitting on the couch, he's drinking, we're listening to music. It's not we're drinking, even though it's pretty clear that she has red wine pretty much daily. If you look at her Instagram account, the majority of her photos, she's holding red wine. And a lot of people testify to Amber drinking red wine every night, which is fine. I have no problem with it. Just why is she lying about something so simple? She's admitted to being a sommelier. I don't understand why she just can't say that she was drinking with him. I think she thinks if she admits she was drinking too, then it will like justify Johnny hitting her. Like, is that what she thinks? If you're doing drugs, if you're drinking, if you're acting a fool, unless you're in imminent danger, violence is never justifiable. But see, she doesn't see it like that. She sees violence as a reasonable action to take. That's just my opinion.
We're sitting next to each other on the couch, and I ask him about the tattoo he has on his arm. And to me, it just looked like black marks. I didn't know what it said. It just looked like muddled, faded tattoo that was hard to read. And I said, "What does it say?" And he said it says wino. It says wino, and I didn't see that. I thought he was joking because it didn't look like it said that at all, and I laughed. It was that simple. I just laughed because I thought he was joking, and slapped me across the face. And I laughed. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, this must be a joke. This must be a joke. Because I didn't know what was going on. I just stared at him, kind of laughing still, thinking that he was gonna start laughing too to tell me it was a joke, but he didn't. He said, "You think it's so funny? You think it's funny, bitch. You think you're a funny bitch." And he slapped me again. Like, it was clear it wasn't a joke anymore. And I stopped laughing, but I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to do. You would think you would have a response, but I, as a woman, had never been hit like that. I'm an adult, and I'm sitting next to the man I love, and he slapped me for no reason, it seemed like, and I missed the point. It was that stupid. Second slap, I know he's not kidding, but I don't know what else to say or do, so I just stared at him. I didn't say anything. I didn't react. I didn't move or freak out or defend myself or say, "What are you doing? You're crazy." I just stared at him because I didn't know what else to do. And he slaps me one more time. Hard. I lose my balance. At this point, we're sitting next to each other on the edge of the couch, or I was on the edge of the couch. And I'm all of a sudden realizing that the worst thing has just happened to me that could possibly happen to you. I realized that I wish so much he had said he was joking, because it didn't hurt. It didn't physically hurt me. I was just sitting there on this carpet, looking at the dirty carpet, wondering how I wound up on this carpet and why I never noticed that the carpet was so filthy before, and I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. I just sat there thinking, how much time do I have till I figure out what I need to do? Because, God, did he just hit me? No.
So, I don't know about you guys, but I noticed a lot wrong with this. So, she's saying that she asked Johnny what his tattoo said because she couldn't read it. and he told her it said wino. It is a tattoo that he first got when he was dating Wyona Wyona Ryder. And after they broke up, he had to get it fixed somehow, so he turned it into wino. He thought it was funny. So Amber is alleging that she didn't really understand it and like laughed at it, and Johnny Depp was just so appalled and offended that she would laugh at his wino tattoo because it's clearly a very sacred and serious tattoo that would piss anyone off for laughing at, even though it was intended as a joke. It's not like the more reasonable situation is a new girlfriend of his getting upset that he still has a tattoo of his ex's name. But that's not reasonable. It's more reasonable that a tattoo that was turned into a joke would piss him off when someone laughed at it, because the joke's only meant for him. So Amber laughs at his tattoo, and Johnny's like, "What the fuck, bitch? Don't laugh at my tattoo." And they're sitting on the couch. The cat will play Amber because, well, Amber's reaction is apparently that she didn't do anything and she just stared at him after being slapped while sitting on the couch. Okay, so sitting on the couch, Johnny's drinking. Only Johnny is drinking, so only I'm drinking. Oh, I'm so drunk. Wow, Johnny, your tattoo is so stupid. I don't get it. It says wino. Like what? What? You think that's funny, bitch? You think you're a funny bitch? This isn't awkward. She's not saying anything, so I'm just gonna hit her again. Boom. So hard that even though she's sitting down, she gets knocked off the couch. Does that make any sense at all? First of all, now I'm gonna play Amber. Oh my god, Johnny, that tattoo is so stupid. Like, I don't get it. Wino? Like, what? Even though, like, I'm a wino, so, like, but I don't get it. What? What the fuck, bitch? Oh my god, you just hit me. That's so funny. Oh, you think you're funny? Um, boom. I guess it would be this way, right? It would be like, boom. Okay, so, oh my god, I'm on the floor. I just, I don't understand how you get slapped in the face for the first time by the love of your life and you laugh. You think it's a joke? Because hitting people is something to joke about. Because she doesn't take hitting seriously. If she were, she wouldn't even think that she would have thought that was a joke because clearly this didn't happen. But she's trying to, think of how she would react if she were in this position. So her brain goes to, I would think it was a joke. Okay, well, that's fucked up. Hitting people isn't funny. So then because she laughs, he hits her again. And they're just like sitting next to each other. Like, how I can't get over how awkward that is. Like sitting on the couch and like slapping somebody and you like don't like get up and like fucking move. Okay, so he hits her again and she didn't know what to do. So she just stares at him. Kind of laughing still is what she says. And then she goes, in a very narrator voice, like to me it sounds like she's reading a book. She's like, second slap, I know he's not kidding. Then he slapped me a third time. hard. Like, it's just how she's reading it is so, like she's, like, narrating a book, and she reads a lot. She's admitted that, Johnny admitted that, you know, when they first met, they were discussing books that they've read. She's always in her trailer reading a book, and on her Instagram, there's pictures of her with reading books with her wine. If she reads a lot, maybe kinda, like, the voice in her head, not in, like, a crazy way, but, like, you know, like, your thinking voice? God, people are gonna think I'm crazy now, but, like, I hope you get what I mean. Because she reads so much, maybe she thinks, like, how she reads. It's in, like, a similar way to how she reads, or she's, like, narrating her whole life, kinda. I don't know, I hope that makes sense. Like, for, like, politicians probably think in their head, like, in speech mode or something. They're, like, giving a speech or, like, presenting something. I don't know. I hope that makes sense. So, anyway, so second time he slaps her, she knows it's not a joke, but she just sits there and stares at him because she doesn't know what to do. Well, this is why I think she doesn't know what to do, because it didn't actually happen. And she really doesn't know what she would do if it did happen.
I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want this to be the reality. I didn't want to have the man I was in love with. I know you don't come back from that. You know, I'm not dumb. I know you can't hit a woman. You can't hit a man. You can't hit anyone. You can't just hit somebody because I knew it was wrong, and I knew that I had to leave him. And that's what broke my heart, because I didn't want to leave him. I thought if I got up out of that room, I'd leave the best thing that ever happened to me. And I wish I could sit here and say I stood up and I walked out of that house and I drew a line and I stood up for myself. But I was just looking at the dirty carpet, trying to will myself to get up, to walk out of the door, because I knew I needed to. And I really slowly, I stood up, and I remember looking at him in the eye and just looking at him, frankly, because I didn't know what else to do. And before I know it, he starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. I didn't even really see my dad cry at my grandma's funeral. You know, it's weird. And he's crying.
Wow. Just wow. Where do I even start? All right, first of all, let's start with this. That is so sexist. Like, what the fuck? You're in your early to mid-20s and you've never seen a grown man cry, and then she has the audacity to say, it's weird. It's so weird. He is just crying. I've never seen a grown man cry. How weird. How sexist. That to me just says it all. Case closed. Done. But there are a few parts that I want to play back to you to point a few things out. And sorry for my cat's leg. Next thing I want to point out, how fast her emotions shift. From sobbing on the verge of crying, maybe she considers that crying, maybe some people consider that crying. Either way, from a sad, sobbing, almost crying emotion to, in an instant, back to normal. When she's talking about, she gets up off the carpet, she wills herself to get up off the carpet, and she looks at Johnny, and she starts talking about him crying, and in an instant, her whole emotion, demeanor, tone of voice, everything changes. Normally, when people are experiencing authentic emotions, typically the emotion will show some lasting effects, you know, on the person's presence. Their face, you know, might still be a little sad looking. Their voice might be kind of softer and crackly and talking slower. They don't just instantly stop crying and you're back to normal. Just watch this and let me know what you think.
I was just looking at the dirty carpet, trying to will myself to get up, to walk out of the door because I knew I needed to. And I really slowly, I stood up and I remember looking at him in the eye and just looking at him, frankly, because I didn't know what else to do. And before I know it, he starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. Him, frankly, because I didn't know what else to do. And before I know it, he starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. Starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. Starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. I didn't even really see my dad cry at my grandma's funeral. You know, it's weird. And he's crying.
I've also seen her do this during her 2016 deposition, the ones that incredibly average on YouTube. That Brian fella is his Twitter handle. He has posted Amber Heard's entire deposition. I highly recommend that you go watch it because, first of all, it is just so bizarre between the drama with the lawyers and then Amber's answers and the differences between her answers in 2016, only months after all of these events occurred, versus the 2022 trial that happened years after the events occurred. She is just presenting herself totally different. I think it gives a good inside look at, it shows moments of her being her authentic, kind of cocky, just a combative self. And then it also shows many moments of her playing victim, kind of playing dumb, playing, oh, what? I don't understand. Oh, no, I don't recall. Poor me. You know, just, she is just very manipulative like that with people. And then she snaps back into her normal self, which is nothing like that poor damsel in distress, victimized woman that she likes to portray herself as, which is quite confusing considering she, at the same time, gets very upset when Camille confronts her with saying that Amber likes to play the victim role.
You wanted to be seen, as a noble victim of domestic violence,
I have
didn't you?
never wanted to be seen as a victim, nor have I ever called myself one.
You testified under oath that, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote, didn't you?
That's correct. I pledged the entirety.
No. Ms. Heard, my questions. You testified under oath, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote.
That is correct. I pledged the entirety.
I'm going to move to strike everything after yes.
Very much got under her skin. She prides herself in being tough, which is why she says she put up with all this abuse from Johnny and never sought after medical attention or anything like that. Throughout the trial, that's another thing. She says a lot, because it didn't hurt. He didn't hurt me.
I'm all of a sudden realizing that the worst thing has just happened to me that could possibly happen to you. I realized that I wish so much he had said he was joking, because it didn't hurt. It didn't physically hurt me. I was just sitting there on this carpet, looking at the dirty carpet.
Or she'll say, I didn't need to seek medical attention. I didn't need it. After describing like horrific attacks. I remember my first black eye. It was from a hand like swinging, I guess, and just the tip of a pinky, like, caught the edge of my eye here. Like, caught the edge of my eye. So, like, an arm swinging, and it, like, boom. It would be this way, but, like, the pinky side. So, a pinky. I mean, the arm had a lot of velocity or whatever, but so it hit me pretty fast and hard. But the following morning, I could barely open my eye. My eye was basically swollen shut. The bruising showed up, the worst bruising showed up a few days later. It was very hard to cover up with makeup. Now, I don't have like a professional celebrity makeup artist, but I don't like, I had ice, I did hot heat ice, changes. I was Googling, how to reduce swelling, everything, because I had to go to work. I worked at a preschool. I didn't want to show up with a black eye and like scare the children. Luckily, they were only toddlers, so they were actually like under 2 years old, so they didn't notice. I was able to kind of like cover up the coloration at least, but like you could tell, everybody could tell my eye was messed up. And I said like I walked into like an open cabinet or a door or something. But even just that, a pinky literally tapping the side of my eye, like I think it was like just under the side of my eye, gave me like a black eye that lasted for like 2 weeks. And she is describing extensive beatings of being grappled with Johnny on top of her, pummeling her in the face with heavy rings on the majority of his fingers, repeatedly, over and over and over again. Within the same night, being flung across the room, her head hits an exposed brick wall. She's sexually assaulted. She's being cut with glass. She's having glass bottles thrown at her. She's stepping on glass. This is the Australia incident. But there are other times too where she says Johnny was on top of her and pummeling her in the face repeatedly. You would be beyond, I feel like you would almost be like unrecognizable. That's not something you can cover with makeup and 2 days later, the following night, attend a premiere, attend a public showing, event, something, and have high resolution, professional, super high quality, bright flash photography photos, not catch anything. And like you would have distortion in your face. Ice reduces swelling slightly. It won't remove swelling completely. And it is just such a, no pun intended, slap in the fucking face for her to be claiming such extensive attackings and then going on to say, I didn't need medical attention. It didn't hurt. I'm just so tough. I didn't need to. Fuck you. The fact that a woman, the fact that anyone, and the reason I say women is because, I mean, we do have the higher percentages of domestic violence, but it is not limited to women. There are many, many men who endure severe DV. I know men who have been stabbed by their girlfriends. I know men who have been run over in a car by their girlfriend. And there's plenty of cases where men are clearly murdered by their wives or girlfriends and they get ruled off as suicides. They're not even looked into. The women are just believed because, oh, she's just a, what? That little girl couldn't harm a fly. Oh, she's not capable of hurting somebody. We are capable. We are completely capable. That is just the ironic part. Anyways. What was I saying? Oh, it's a slap in the face, right? Because many times, and I've experienced this myself, domestic violence calls, domestic violence cases are not taken seriously. I've had the one time I called the police, very last time, the cops laughed at my face and refused to make him leave my apartment, though he didn't live there, he wasn't on the lease, he never paid rent. He had a backpack of clothes with him, so therefore that means he had residency, and I would have to go down, file an eviction, and it would take at least 2 weeks before he would have to leave. Well, they left, and they were called back by my roommate because he was choking me, holding me down on the floor on top of me, choking me. And they came back and blamed it on me because they wanted me to drive him home. And I've been in a car with him when he's in those states, and he has tried to take the wheel and literally like crash the car. But anyways, the reason we hadn't left is because he couldn't find his phone. We couldn't find it when the police were here. And the odd thing is, when they were there, we heard it vibrating in the room. I had cops searching all over my room for his stupid phone. We heard it vibrating, couldn't find it anywhere. Then I found it upstairs in the living room in a box. So he clearly like hid his phone as an excuse to not leave, because he was like, I'm not leaving until I get my phone. Either way, I'm sorry, I keep going off. The cops blamed it on me for not driving him home right away, even though he refused to leave without his cell phone, and I was very scared to drive him home. They took 45 minutes to get there. The 911 operator was completely terrible. I was trying to obviously not reveal that I was calling 911. He ended up finding out because I had to repeat myself so many times. They just couldn't get my address right. They couldn't get my name right. They had to ask me over and over and over again. And literally, like, while I was on the phone, my boyfriend ran up to me and screamed, "Why are you calling the police?" And he like ran up to me, grabbed the phone out of my hand, and he, "She's a fucking bitch," and threw my phone. And that's how the call ended. And they took 45 minutes to an hour to get there, and they showed up laughing. So, for her to do this, I don't know how somebody can, first of all, falsely accuse somebody of such horrific things in front of the entire world. The next worst thing you could do under rape is falsely accuse somebody of rape. I just don't know how she could literally, in front of the entire world, say these things and be so ignorant and egotistical as to think that the entire world is so dumb and gullible that we would just believe her. And then she even has the audacity to go on and say that this trial is a setback for women's rights. She is the only setback. Johnny Depp winning this trial is a win for domestic abuse victims, domestic violence victims. It is a complete win. There's only one tiny little bit of testimony left regarding her first alleged act of physical violence. And this one I'm probably just going to comment throughout the clip as it's happening because it's very short. So back to this bitch.
Tears, I mean, just falling out of his eyes. He gets down on his knees and he grabs my hands and he's touching my hands and he's saying to me, "I will never do that again. I'm so sorry, baby. I put the fucker away. I thought I killed it and it's done. I thought I put the monster away and I've done it before. It's done." But on his knees. And I didn't have words. I didn't know what to say. I just remember thinking that it was just, he was crying. He seemed so sorry, but I knew I couldn't just forgive him because right? That means it will happen again, no? You know, like I've seen the health class videos, like everyone else. And I got up in my car, I walked to the car, I didn't say anything. I made a point to not say, oh, it's okay, or anything like that. I just didn't say anything. I got up, I went to the car, I sat in my car, and I felt like I sat there forever. I didn't want to turn the key. I just leaned my head up against the window. And I remember just seeing my breath on the windshield, you know, on the glass of the window of the door, just seeing my breath and trying to will myself to have the strength to know what I should do in this moment, because I was heartbroken. And I sat there for a long time, and I eventually turned the key and drove home.
And what did you do after that?
I don't know. I don't remember what I did when I got home. I don't remember.
Also notice that her lawyer asked her the question, what did you do when you went home? She says, I don't remember, which she says multiple other times when she's asked about these incidences. She's always speaking in great detail, giving these random little artistic details. When I say artistic, it's like details that like a director of photography or an author would include when writing a scene. Her breath on the window, and the dirty carpet. Later she says, I just remember staring at the blue light. And I think she picks this up from reading on PTSD research about like flashes, and a person will kind of just have like one image stuck in their mind. I think this is her best way of emulating what she's researched by giving these small details. A common trait found in lies, or someone who's lying, is they'll give too many details. They'll like talk too much. They kind of over explain. They think that's such a weird random detail. Nobody would make that up. Nobody would just think of that. They must be telling the truth if they have that like recollection of such a small, minute, random detail. That's actually a common trait when somebody is lying. I don't know, just something to think about, and that's totally how it came off to me. You also notice that she's giving those small details, right? And then Elaine, her lawyer, asks what she did when she went home. She doesn't remember anything. And Amber, throughout the trial, never, well, she does say she has a hard time sleeping, but she never actually describes, like, psychologically or just in her personal life and her relationships, how this abuse or violence affected her. She never talks about that. She never talks about how it feels, how she felt, what she was going through in her psychological state. She didn't describe the pain, she doesn't describe actual what she felt, she doesn't give specific details of injuries. So I think that's a great lack of detail.
I went to my therapist. I told her.
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain as to what she may have told her.
I went home, and I a few days later started getting, I actually don't know how many days later, but I started getting calls and texts from Johnny, apologizing profusely. I mean, just, he said, I'd rather cut my hand off than ever lay it on you or lay it upon you, and he had that way of talking. It felt like poetry. And he showed up to talk, like with the understanding that, he understood I could never forgive him and it was done. So I felt kind of safe and saying, okay, let's have a talk, or, you know, yeah, we'll talk. I think I know I just wanted to see him, and he comes over, brings me gifts. He brought me a couple cases, actually, of that Vega Sicilia wine that we've heard about.
Couple cases of wine? Damn.
Which is a really nice, expensive wine that I could never, at that time, dream of affording, you know. And we talk, and he tells me that he had put this thing away, that I could trust him, that it would never happen again. Of course, it would never happen again. That he had put this thing away. He had killed the fucker, is what he said to me over and over again. I put that fucker away. I killed that monster. I'll kill it again. It's done.
And I honestly think the monster that they're referring to Johnny Depp as is the monster of addiction.
Never lay a hand on you again. And I wanted to believe him, so I chose to.
Chose to stay in the relationship.
Yeah, I did. I believed it, but, you know, I believed it wouldn't. I believed that there was a line he wouldn't cross again, and that was it.
And so you stayed, correct? You stayed in the relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, well, that about sums it up for this video. And I do have so much more to say about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and just their whole situation in general. So there will be more videos kind of similar to this of me breaking down a certain aspect of either Amber Heard's testimony or maybe other witnesses, maybe Johnny's testimony, maybe parts of her deposition, just different aspects, just putting all the evidence together and giving my perspective based on my personal experiences with these issues, basically just going on a rant. So if you are as enthralled in this whole trial and case as I am, definitely be sure to check back later because there will be more videos. And my next true crime case video, which is taking me a long time because there's just a lot to go over, a lot of information, a lot of interviews and evidence and recordings. So it's going to be a long one. Might be a series, maybe a 2 or 3-parter, but it is kind of related to this because it is a male domestic violence case, the case of David Elmquist. Definitely be sure to stick around for that as well. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you were able to get through all of this. And please take care of yourself, guys. If this was triggering at all for you, just remember to take care of your mental health first and love yourselves, okay? You are all so beautiful. I just know it. Thank you for letting me vent here and share a little bit about me and everything. Feel free to comment. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, what you guys think, if you guys disagree, whatever it is, let me know. Okay, bye.